On April 8, 1993, 1:29 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NASA launched Space Shuttle Discovery Flight 54, mission STS-56, from Kennedy Space Center. Underscored by the darkness of night, the Space Shuttle's rocket boosters lit the sky for miles in every direction, one of the most surreal things I've ever witnessed. I wore a Timex Iron Man that night, and 3 decades later, that original fascination with space and watches has come full circle as I review the best-known space watch of all time, the Speedmaster Moonwatch Professional. This video is presented by the 1916 Company. Space and time are inextricably connected. While Omega's Moonwatch is not the only watch to go to outer space, G-Shock, Rolex, Breitling, Bulova, Seiko, Timex, Hamilton, Yema, Fortis, Tag Heuer, and other brands have been there too. The Speedmaster, however, is most synonymous with space exploration and famously was worn on the first moon landing in 1969. In 1962, Wally Schirra wore his personal Speedmaster on the Mercury Atlas 8 mission, making it the first Omega in space. In 1964, NASA requested quotes for wrist chronographs, and Omega was one of 4 companies that submitted watches for testing. Omega won, and NASA declared the Speedmaster flight qualified for all manned space missions in 1965. Later the same year, Ed White wore a Speedmaster on America's first spacewalk during his Gemini 4 mission. By this point, the Speedmaster was already part of space history. It was not until 1969, however, during the Apollo 11 moon landing, that the Speedmaster's legendary moonwatch status was officially confirmed when Buzz Aldrin wore NASA-approved Speedmaster Professional reference 105012 on the moon. This status was further solidified in 1970 during Apollo 13, when the Speedmaster was used to manually time critical engine burns needed for re-entry after the ship's onboard systems malfunctioned, ultimately saving the crew's life. An ideally sized 42mm by 13mm stainless steel case, 48mm lug-to-lug, with a fixed bezel and black aluminum tachymeter bezel insert with a dot next to 90, and mirror polishing on the top of the twisted lugs and case flanks, with contrasting vertically brushed asymmetrical flanks, give the watch its sporty, sexy, and elegant appearance. The screw-in case back is engraved with "Flight qualified by NASA for all manned space missions," and the first watch worn on the moon. Moonwatch is water resistant to 50 meters, which should be enough in most situations, including space. The matte black step Speedmaster dial with triple counters, no date, and stark white markings and hands looks classic. The lume shown is at least 7 years old and the glow is still excellent. The chrono display would be slightly easier to read if the minutes counter went to 60 minutes, like with Omega's chronoscope, instead of displaying 30-minute increments. Nevertheless, it was more than sufficient to time engine burns in 1970 when the crew of Apollo 13 relied on it when re-entering Earth's atmosphere. Making a mechanical chronograph movement in-house is amongst the most costly things to do commercially in watchmaking. Although Omega technically acquired the intellectual property from Lamagna, it's still considered an Omega in-house movement. The lineage of the Moonwatch movements is caliber 321, 861, 1861, and 3861. The pre-owned model featured is a reference 311-30-42-30-01005 and has the Omega caliber 1861, which is a fantastic manual wind chronograph derived from the Lamagna 1873 architecture obtained by the Swatch Group when they acquired the now non-existent brand. You can't go wrong with either the standard original plexiglass Heslaite or premium sapphire crystal options. But note that while the sapphire sandwich affords a view of the movement, it carries an approximate premium of $1,000. It sits slightly higher on your wrist than the Heslaite. Also, the Heslaite can scratch, though it can be buffed, whereas the sapphire is nearly scratch-proof. Perhaps most importantly, Heslaite plexiglass is the true original equipment of the Moonwatch. As far as iconic mainstream Swiss chronographs, the Omega Speedmaster has 4 key rivals: the Breitling Navitimer, Tag Heuer Carrera, Zenith El Primero, and Rolex Daytona. With respect to price, only the Carrera comes close, yet the famous Speedmaster formidably competes with all of them. The Moonwatch Professional, with its gorgeous twisted lyre lugs, is an attractive, well-proportioned timepiece that's highly versatile and looks great in both formal and casual settings. If you want the best collectible mechanical chronograph for the money, the Speedmaster in stainless steel with a Heslaite crystal on a strap or bracelet is hard to beat. And like a Porsche 911 or Rolex Submariner, Omega has carefully evolved the design of the Speedmaster so that no matter the year, the design remains timeless. Thank you to NASA for allowing us to use the launch image, and thank you to the 1916 company for making this video possible.